Second to none. You know, it's honestly for me the highest bar I've ever been put up against. You know, and the faculty, not only obviously some Maggie Flanigan alumni, you know, that have been trained by Maggie, are here, but you know, we have people from Yale, Rutgers, NYU that teach, you know, that been teaching out in the world and have so much experience and bring it all here in one place. It's pretty incredible.
And how does this compare to other places that you may have studied?
You know, I've been in the industry for a while, 15 years, you know, and I've been on both coasts. I've worked on sets and been to a lot of like big schools, you know, and Maggie Flanigan Studio. It's for me, not only it's the standard, because the standard is second to none, but it's the passion, really, about every aspect of acting, you know, from the history of film and theater to, you know, Charlie now really being the one carrying the torch for the Meisner Technique in America, you know, coming down from the group and Meisner and how it was all developed, you know, and Charlie's the one with that now. So to be in class with him as much as I have been, it feels like just such an authentic experience of acting training in New York, you know.
And how do you understand the definition of artistry as you close in on completing your first year of training?
You know, for me, the definition of artistry is found in, or the real, like, I guess, value in artistry is found in the specificity of what the artist is the idea that the artist is trying to articulate, whatever medium it is, you know, and that's what we learn here, really, particularly in the first year, is all about specific crafting that's going to bring us to a full and rich emotional life that people will then, you know, want to partake in somehow vicariously, or our partners, you know, in the scenes, or and the standard, the specificity, the constant living in this imaginary world and constantly crafting and working with our own, they call them here thematic chords, you know, what moves us really, what we really care about, and starting to work with those things in our imagination. That's sorry, can we do this one again?
Yeah.
Sorry, I know I got off on a different question. I was like, I'm answering the next question right now.
Yeah, this one
Yeah.
question?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Caleb, how do you understand the definition of artistry as you close in on completing your first year of training?
I always come back to the definition of artistry as, or a great artist, you know, someone that we admire personally. It's specificity, you know. It's the articulation of that idea. Are you really spending the time and keeping yourself, again, the standard, you know, is what drives all of it. But artistry really means taking the time and the care to sit with something, the idea that you're trying to articulate, whatever medium you're working with, music, painting, writing, acting, you know, there's so many ways to express yourself. But really having an integrity with that, you know, and knowing if you've accomplished it. And it's really at the end of the day, you know, because we're all going to spread our wings at some point, you know, and be out in the world, and what we need to leave here with is our own ability to audit ourselves, you know, and say, is this the best I have, you know, and I think ultimately that's what great artists, that's what separates the great artists. A lot of volume, I think, of work, that's a different thing, but it's that ability, once we get out in the world, to say, is this my best? And if it's not, are you willing to ultimately, you know, bleed for your best? And that's what real artists do. And some, you know, whatever the price is, you have to do that, pay that.
And how has Charlie in the studio challenged you to understand the link of artistry to the craft of acting?
Charlie's been the best teacher I've ever had, hands down, because not only do the great artists hang on the walls here, and I feel like I have a sense of like watching what we're doing, you know, and improving or disapproving. You know, I'm talking about personally, but you know, we're introduced to the idea of specificity and the pursuit of that clarity, you know. But and then Charlie, the acting. With the acting technique in the acting room, we just come back to those every day, you know. And Charlie is the bar holder, you know, and he holds it very strongly, you know. If you're bringing in something great, then he's riveted, and you can see that he's passionate about acting. Which ultimately means he's passionate about human behavior, you know, and what drives people and people in general, you know, in human situations, and watching that nuance and subtlety play out, watching a brave actor, or, you know, dangerous actor, but if you're coming in, you're boring, you're pedestrian, you haven't done your work, like, get ready for the whip, you know, because that's how it's going to go, and it's a great whip. He does it very well, you know. You come back, you know, but he will not settle for anything less than what he sees as your best. And maybe you don't see it at the moment, you know, but he will pull it out of you, and that's what great teachers do.
And what would you say to someone that maybe had been working in the industry for a while but never really committed to a training program and wanted to take their career to the next level? Maybe they feel stuck.
Yeah.
What would you say to them?
Yeah, that sounds like me. A little over a year ago, you know, I was kind of on a I don't know what to call it. Maybe like I was on not a path that I really enjoyed. I was working, you know, I could book a job. I'd been on a lot of auditions. I know the industry. I know how to go in and sell myself, and that, to me, that's where I was coming from. You know what I mean? I need to go in and sell myself rather than let me have this part. You know, let me get these sides or this script and really break it down and have a process, and then, you know, there's great Al Pacino quote, you know, and on auditioning, and he said he would go in and you know, he gets the script and prepares, and, you know, he obviously has a great process, and takes it in the room and does what he does, and that's how Al Pacino does it. And if you want it, pay for it. If you don't, he's going to go to the next thing, you know. And I that to me was so inspiring, because I don't think I've ever done that. I'd always gone in and been like, yeah, okay, you know, and like very, you know, some days I would have confidence, some days I wouldn't. It's such a crapshoot when you're working like that, you know what I mean? And I got to a place where, even though I'd had training a little bit, you know, I'd had some Adler, I'd had some method, I'd had some Meisner, I knew everything about the overview of acting and the techniques involved, you know, even some of the like more obscure stuff, but it didn't translate into working, you know what I mean? You got to work out every day if you want muscles. So, and this is a muscle, really, you know, and I would get on set. I've been on set with some really profound actors, Oscar winners, you know, and I would sit across next to them, wherever the scene was blocked, and leave that day feeling like I didn't get fired. So that was like a good day, you know. And I never got fired, but I was never going to inspire either. I was never going to fire anyone up. And if you're not in art ultimately to do anything, if you're in art to do anything other than that, which is create something that's going to connect with people and really go in and give your best, and train to give your best, then you're in it for the wrong reasons ultimately. You know what I mean? Because there's easier ways to make money. And I would recommend, you know, if you're on the fence, if you've trained a little bit, or you read a book, or you've done a reading or a couple episodes or whatever, but you're on the fence about, like, could you go and play a major part on theater boards, or, you know, get in with a group that's being helmed by Scorsese or somebody amazing, you know, gritty directors, you know, then you need training. You know, you really have to, because the things are going to be thrown at you on set that you're going to have to figure out, and charm isn't going to work very long. You know, I know that, and you know, if you're okay making money, you got your part, and you just say your lines, then fine, that's cool, you know, do your thing. But like, if you really care about being a great artist or having any kind of impact in the industry beyond another pretty face, you know, then you're gonna have to train. You're gonna have to put your time in. And I again, like, I'm a martial artist. Ultimately, I came from the martial arts world, and this is, I think, a good metaphor. Probably the only metaphor I have that's pretty good. But you know, there's a lot of brawlers out there who watch the UFC and they say to themselves, I could do that, you know. And okay, you're a brawler. You get thrown in with a black belt in a cage. You know, like somebody who's trained, who's dedicated their entire life to it. They wake up early, they eat right, they mentally train themselves to be tough under circumstances that are not easy to stay tough in. You know, everybody has a plan until they got hit, you know. And they live their entire day after day as a fighter. You're gonna, you know, you get locked in a cage with somebody like that, it's gonna show immediately, you know, that who's the black belt and who's the wannabe, really, you know what I mean? And I see acting as no different, you know. You can charm your way into a role. You can charm your way into a role or whatever, you know. Now it's all about, like, you got a big Instagram following, then some producer out there is going to give you some money to get some eyeballs and make a little money himself, whatever, you know. But there's just not going to be any value in it, you know. I think if you're thinking that this is easy or that you don't need training, that you can just jump on stage or on set with a real actor, a great actor who can take notes and incorporate them immediately, who lives spontaneously, who crafts deeply and richly and subtly, and, you know, is not afraid of anything, you know, particularly on set. That's the pressure cooker. When the camera's on, that's it, action. That's not the time to, like, figure it out, you know. And I think a lot of people have that idea of acting, that's I'll just learn it on set, I'll learn as I go, and on the job. Like, the only place you can do that now is the presidency. No, I'm just kidding. But you know, I don't recommend it. I think if you want to really be an artist and be respected by your peers, you know, which is ultimately what I'm after, you gotta train.